howdy, howdy, howdy. It's another Thursday. And we're live. Which, of course, is a good thing. Before I get to all the hellos, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, and for today being a special day, 9/11. You know, never forget. So if you would join me in a minute of silence, and we'll continue from there. I don't think that was a full minute, but close enough. Alright guys, let's say hello to everybody. We start at the beginning, find out who got the high performance cookie. It looks like, believe it or not, James from Dundas Junction Model Railroad. James, you got the high performance cookie. Enjoy it, my friend. And good to see you here. Hot Dog Pilot Andy, he got the half cookie. So half of a high performance cookie is a pretty good deal. Good to see you here. And Gerald Stewart, he got crumbs. Now, Gerald, you gotta be quick, man. Anyway, good to see you here. John Nippenberg, good to see you. Glad you're here. And who else we got? We got Tom Grassi. Tom, how's it going? Hope everything's going good for you. Let's see. Andy sent me this link. And I'm going to play it in a little while for everybody who hasn't seen it yet. It's pretty cool. Anyway, let's get back onto the highs. Sean's Pennywise with Miser Railroad. Hey Sean, how's it going? Sorry to hear you had not that great of a day, but hey, it's about to get better, right? And let's see who else we got here. Schuylkill River Valley Railroad. John, how's it going? Good to see you here. My eye is burning to beat hell. I don't know why. Ray Bertelson, good to see you. Glad you're here. Let's see who else we got here. Chuck Schreiber. Hey Chuck, good to see you. Derek Alexander. Hey Derek, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Yeah, we're still scrolling here. Hey, Russell's rocking O&HO trains and stuff. Good to see you, Russ. Glad you're here. Okay, I think that's everybody. That was a lot of... I had a shitload of chats there, man. Anyway, we got a lot to do tonight. Stuff I gotta show you. Got a mail call. Couple of videos to watch, and the usual discussions on whatever. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to play that link that Hot Dog Andy sent over. It's cute. It's only a couple minutes long. So, where did it go? There it is. Is that it? Oh, fuck, I don't even remember now. Yeah, it's got to be it. There we go.
Stop, look, listen, 'cause you're gonna hear a brand new story about a great engineer. He's the greatest of them all, we claim. Number one's his engine, Casey Jones, his name. Casey Jones, steaming and rolling. Casey Jones, You never have to guess when you hear the tooting of the whistle. It's Casey at the throttle of the cannonball. Yes, Casey Jones, steaming and rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess when you hear the tooting of the whistle. It's Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.
Shit, I fucked up. Forgot to turn it back on. Alright, let me start over again. Crooked Dave, Crooked River and Easter, good to see you here, man. And Thomas Moore, he changed his damn channel name again. I can't find it, but I guess it was inevitable, wasn't it, that he would change it again. This is the best he's ever sounded. Well, I don't know about that. New computer, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but hey Manshed, how you doing? Good to see you here. I said we have a lot to cover tonight. Thomas, where'd you go? Say something so I could see your new channel name. I already forgot what it was, because, you know, why wouldn't I? Thomas Grassy. No, not Thomas Grassy. Thomas Moore. Shit. Now, he'll pop up at some point, I'm sure. Unless he's too afraid to speak his new channel name. I don't know about that guy. He's a little weird. Anyway. I have a mail call. It'll be quick. And snapped away and says, well, go ahead and eat dinner, John. You can always listen in unless she doesn't let you. But you can come back after dinner, man. I'm sure I'll still be on. Nashville Steam, that's what it was. Okay. I couldn't find it. I know I saw him there earlier. But I don't know if he dropped off or not. I mean, I would have out of pure embarrassment. I don't know about that. And how in the hell can you keep changing your name? I mean, and I'm surprised that YouTube will even let you. He's got through like over 20 name changes just in the last year. It's crazy. I don't know. Anyway, and he sent me a video, which I'm going to play a little later on. It's a little long. It's 27 minutes long, but it's really cool. It's back from like the 30s. Black and white, obviously, steam engine. It's really cool. And I'm not going to tell you anymore. You'll have to watch it. What's for dinner? I had a hot ham and cheese, actually. I got a couple of steaks sitting in the freezer. I think I'm going to have a steak this weekend. I love steak. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do, a mail call. I got this here. No, it's not from China. It's actually from Israel. Which I would have never guessed when I ordered it. Well, I don't generally look where things come from. I buy things based on price and shipping costs. Of course, it was free shipping on this. And of course, that's the most important thing to me is shipping costs. So, Nashville Steam. Did you get my email? I might have. Thomas, I have no idea. Like I said, I got the one movie that you sent me. I think it was last week or later. It was after the last show. I'm going to play it a little while. But we'll have time enough for that. Oh yeah, I saw that. Well, I'll let you know if I feel up to it or not. Hey, Colonel Cottonbell. Jason, how's it going, man? Good to see you. So, anyway, I bought a bunch of these. Because I need them. I think I got 8 of them all together. They are the SG90 servos. These are going to be controlling the turnouts up on the second level on both the yard and any place where there's a turnout. I'm going to have to get more because, like I said, I think I needed 12 altogether. I have a couple laying around here. I got to look for them. I got, let's see what there's 2, 4, 6. Yeah, there's 8 of them I bought, and they were cheap. It was like $17. They're about $2 a piece. Can't go wrong. And they're perfect for controlling the turnouts. And of course, like I said, I printed up a bunch of these brackets that they'll mount into. And then these will mount up on the side of the fascia, but behind the real fascia, it'll be like they'll be hidden. I'll show you when I get around to doing it, which will be soon. I'm still threading wires on the bus lines. I ran out of wire down there, so but I found more, so I'm gonna have to splice it and bring it down the rest of the way. Same with the black and the red. For the 12-volt bus line, I bought another spool of each because I don't quite make it all the way around. These are 40 foot, and I think it's really closer to 50, 60, probably 70 foot run all the ways around, so I'll have to splice those in too. Amazon, no, actually eBay. Like I said, I look for the best prices I can get stuff on. And I'm still kind of a go-to eBay guy mostly. In most cases, I get better prices on eBay. And I don't really have to worry about the shipping because I always go for free shipping. Where on Amazon, I currently have Prime until the 23rd of this month. Then I shut it off because it's not worth $15 a month. I don't buy enough stuff to justify the expense of it. So it was offered to me for free, the trial. So I got the 30-day trial and I let it go another 30 days. Paid the $15 and said, yeah, that's enough. So like I said, most stuff on eBay is free shipping. The prices are generally a little better anyway. So, like now the wire I bought at the Tractor Supply locally, this shit was $15 a roll. And I bought 4 rolls of it, so there's $60. Boom, gone. But wire went up way crazy in price, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I don't think I'd get a better deal anywhere else either, to be honest, so. And stuff like that I like to hold in my hand, make sure it's exactly what I need. So, you know, it is what it is. So we got that. Got Computers. Well, I think I told you last week that I was having issues with the USB ports on my computer. Well, I actually wound up losing 2 of them, and a third one was on its way. So I says, well, it's time to get a new motherboard. So I went ahead and ordered one last week. Oh, cool, Jason. That's good to hear. So I went ahead and ordered a new motherboard. It came in a couple of days ago. So I put it in. I didn't have that much of a problem with it. I kind of expected to. Because, I've done this before. I've done this so many times. It's like, there's certain things you just know you're going to run into. Hey, Georgia Sunbelt, Anthony, how you doing? So I expected to have to reload Windows 10 because usually when you do any major modification to a computer, you have to reload the OS. So I went ahead and I backed up everything and I erased everything off the old motherboard, well, off the hard drive, figuring I'm going to have to redo it anyway. So it was better to start with a clean drive. Now, I left the Windows 10 program on, the OS on there, but everything else I took off. So anyway, I get it all together. I fire it up for the first time, and it goes, "Do you want to use your old OS?" I go, "Well, fuck, I didn't know you could do that. That's something new." So I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So it basically saved me a whole bunch of grief by having to not having to reload Windows 10 or any of the software that was tied into it. The only thing I did have to deal with was my browsers, of which I have 3 of them. I use Chrome, I use Brave, and I use Foxfire or Firefox. I had to reset all 3 of those. Don't know why I didn't hold the information for them, but I said everything important was backed up anyway. So, and then of course there were other issues, like with OBS. It was still on the machine, but nothing worked on, so I had to redo everything. So that was okay. That was a good deal. Oh, that's cool. Wow. So, we have a new computer now. It's a gaming. I bought a motherboard. It's a gaming motherboard. And as a matter of fact, it's right here. And he said it was $150, but for some oddball reason, I got a $40 discount on it, which was really cool. Like I said, I transferred everything over my CPU. I have a Ryzen CPU. I have 32 gig of RAM. I have my 8 meg video card. I put all my old stuff on there, right? And then this thing runs twice as fast as the old board does. Everything's working fine now, except for I still have some camera issues. Not sure why. I'm working on that. Jim's going to be playing GTA. Not likely. I don't really do video games. I used to back in the day. Not so much stuff like that, but there's more adventure games, where you had to find things. They were kind of cool, but I played GTA, the first one. It was on an Xbox or something like that, I think, or maybe it was a PlayStation, I don't remember. I just don't get into that stuff. Jim, have you played Train Sim World? No, I haven't even heard of it. And I have Trains with a Z. It's not the latest one, it's last year's version. Eventually I'll upgrade it, but I haven't played with that for a while either. Train Sim World sounds a little more detailed, maybe. I'll have to look into it. That's pretty cool. So, anyway, yesterday I went live for a very tiny bit and made sure everything was functional on OBS, including the overlays and all the other stuff. So we're good to go. We're back to normal. I'll have to fool with that for another, hopefully 5 years. Because I had enough of that shit for a while, you know. And I really hadn't planned on buying a motherboard, but I was afraid that the whole thing was going to, you know, shut down on me, and that's the last thing I need right now. So, of course, that cut into my time to work on the layout, but I still work, like I said, I'm still pulling wires for the buses. I hope to have that done probably by the weekend. And then I got to get the trains running. That's another deal altogether. But I had mostly dirty track, and I've got some maintenance to do on a couple locomotives. So we'll get that straightened out too. And hopefully by next Shortline Thursday, trains might actually be running. Jim was in person. Oh yeah. I had an issue with the microphone too. Like I said, I don't know why. I want to switch around a couple of USB ports. And that seemed to fix it though. Like I said, you never know what's gonna, you know. Computers sometimes can act strange. I mean, there's really not much more I could do to improve this. I mean, you know, I could put more RAM in there, but I think it'd be a waste of time, so we'll see. And so far, we're doing good on the stream. I said I'm using less of the CPU than I did before. I'm only running 60% at 2,661 kbps. No drop frames. We're in the green. 60 frames per second. So we're doing pretty good so far. You know, knock wood. Russ says I have no time for video games. Too many other hobbies. Yeah, I hear you. That's what I'm saying. I really don't have any time for it either. And I'm just really just not into it, you know. I mean, I have Flight Simulator too. I don't even have it loaded up on the computer. I think the last one I bought was the 2012 version, maybe. I don't remember. Good one, Ray. Going out of you. Hey, Waycross, how you doing? Good to see you. Sad time if you're referring to Charlie Kirk. I do agree with you. We might talk about that a little later. I'm still a little pissed off about the whole thing, but you know, but this is what we're dealing with anymore, unfortunately. I mean, all the murders going on is crazy, you know. Like I said, we'll talk about it later, but anyway. So, computer's done. Oh, and I did add a 4 terabyte hard drive alongside the 1 terabyte main drive. So I've got a total of 5 terabyte of storage now. I won't be running out of computing space anytime soon. That's a good thing. What else we got going on? Oh, there's so much more I had to talk about, and I forgot what the hell it was, right? I suppose what we could do, we could run that video. Like I said, it's 28 minutes long, but it's really cool. I think you'll like it. And once again, that was Thomas Moore sent that to me. And after kind of checking and double checking to make sure it didn't violate any copyrights. All right, Jason, have a good one, man. Well, this has got to do with trains, James, so you guys might like it. You might learn something, too. I thought it was pretty damn interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now, and then I'll be back after it's done playing. Where is it? Is this one here?
I was hired by the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway between Christmas 1932 and New Year's 1933. In those days, if you didn't know someone who could pull a few strings for you, it was next to impossible to find work. Mr. P.L. Rapper, a family friend and the NC and St. L agent in my hometown of Jackson, Tennessee, pulled the strings for me. Railroad jobs were probably the most difficult to get of all, especially for a Tennessee hillbilly who hadn't even finished school. You have to remember that this was smack in the middle of the Great Depression. On March 27, 1933, I made my first run as an extra board fireman after probation. The day before, I dead-headed to Nashville, where the run would begin. Railroad people have a memory for dates, places, and people. And I recall that March 27th was your typical overcast early spring Tennessee day. We'd be taking a freight all the way to Memphis, through the division point at Brewston, where normally a crew change took place. Years later, the two divisions were combined, but in those days it was the Nashville division from Nashville to Hickman, Kentucky, and the Paducah and Memphis division, the P&M, from Paducah, Kentucky to Memphis. All newly hatched fire boys started out in freight. Only with proven experience and seniority did you move on to the passenger runs. I got the locomotive around 6:30 a.m., fresh from the shops. J2484, number 569, sat alongside the Nashville train shed. My first run as a mainline fireman after probation, and I drew a glider. Gliders were the first 484s in the entire South, and also the smallest. NC and St. L superintendent of machinery, and also the Rhodes baseball team manager, C.M. Darden, designed these engines with lateral free play in the forward driving boxes that allowed them to glide through curves effortlessly. The Nashville-Brewston segment was known as the Windy for its many curves. The name NC people gave the J2s was only natural, gliders. There were 5 of them, numbers 565 through 569, built by Alco in 1930. No slogging your guts out here. These babies practically ran themselves. Just keep them full of coal and water, or so everyone said. They really didn't build locomotives any finer than these, and they were the pride of the entire NC until the J3 Stripes and Yellow Jackets arrived in the 1940s. The gliders were equipped with all sorts of other remarkable innovations. Worthington feedwater heater and pump, standard BK stroker, etc. All of this made the fireman's job a snap when compared with the old consolidations and 10-wheelers. The Kane Avenue crew had started the fire as 63 cars of drag freight were being switched in. Just some kindling and some waistcloth rags soaked in kerosene was all that was needed to start the fire. The wood and rags crackled and sputtered the coal to life, like the fire in your furnace, and the aroma of burning bituminous soon mixed with the morning dampness in the air. I climbed the steps to the cab to ensure all was right. Steam gauge, sight glass, air gauges, and lubricator. These would be my tools this day, and I wanted to familiarize myself with each of them. I opened the Franklin fire door with a gloved hand and peered inside. Everything looked good. The Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Firemen thermometer on the wall of the cab showed 50 degrees. But I knew that soon the cab of the 484 would seem like a sauna. The steam gauge showed no pressure, but I could make out the sound of the water in the boiler beginning to boil. At the end of the previous run, water had been pumped into the cooling boiler, so there'd be enough for the next steam up. The water column sight glass showed 4 nuts. Both sides of the glass provided rudimentary graduations. Climbing down outside again, I began to oil around. On a 484, like any steam locomotive, there were a myriad of places to squirt the life-giving lubricant. In order to withstand the high temperatures of the locomotive, the oil in the long-spouted can was extremely viscous, about the consistency of honey. There's nothing in the world like the mingled smell of hot oil and steam, and if you've ever smelt it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a smell you never forget. I walked around and dripped oil into the necessary places. The numerous small holes, cups, and oiling points on the rods and the Walschaerts valve gear each got a few drops, and the driving boxes got their share of oil as well. Of course, the flange oilers and the Nathan mechanical lubricators would do their work once in motion, but not everywhere, and the old hands had taught me that there was no substitute for seeing to things personally before a run. The thick oil took time to dispense, but I knew that it would flow better later on, after I stowed the can near the backhead where it would heat up. I continued to oil with the thick stuff. Some of the places that needed oil were hidden by the counterweights of the driving wheels. I'd have to leave these places until the engine moved and the drivers rotated out of the way. The drops hitting the back of my neck told me that rain had begun. Back in the cab, things were progressing. The sound of boiling water was much louder, and I reached out to tap the steam gauge a couple of times. It was still on 0. A few minutes later, I tapped again. Nothing, but I waited and watched. Finally, almost imperceptibly, the needle rose off the pin. We had steam pressure, but not enough to do anything with yet. Soon the pressure was high enough that I could start some of the accessories. The first thing to do was start the blower. The blower was a pipe running from the steam dome to the smoke box through the boiler shell. It entered the smoke box and shot a jet of steam up the stack. This drew the hot gases through the flues, helping the engine to steam, keeping smoke out of the cab and starting the draft. Steam had condensed into water in the blower since the last steam up, and that water first had to be expelled. I opened a secondary valve near where the blower entered the firebox, and then the main blower valve. Steam and water rushed out onto the ground. When nothing but steam emanated from the pipe, I closed the valve and the jet of steam rushed up the stack in a whooshing sound. Next, steam was admitted to the Nathan hydrostatic sight feed lubricator. 4 feeds would lubricate the piston valve and cylinder on each side. One fed the steam end of the Worthington feed water pump, and the last fed the Westinghouse cross-compound air pump far ahead of the pilot deck. I opened the feed to the air pump, and then the pump itself turned on. Slowly, the pump came to life. Hardly any steam was being used to run the compressor, and its thumps came slowly. Up front, the compressor had several small copper tubes that served as condensate drains. I opened these, and the condensed water and steam issued forth from the exhaust tube up beside the stack as the rate of the compressor increased. The pump was started slowly to allow the pistons to warm up and to become well lubricated. Then I closed the condensate lines and turned the pump valve on full. Thump, thump, thump. The compressor's pounding could be felt through the frame of the locomotive. I watched the air pressure gauges to monitor the progress of the airflow to each air reservoir, one on each side of the running boards and one for service and the other auxiliary. I checked the main steam gauge again, and it was nearing 250 pounds. Operating pressure just below pop-off level. When the safety valves did pop, it was an ear-splitting hiss as steam shot skyward and mixed with the gray clouds and falling rain. With the compressor thumping and the steam from the blower rushing up the stack, the J2 was finally alive, ready for the run. Time to cut out the blower and let exhaust steam up the nozzles to induce the draft I sat again in the cab, thinking how easy this all had been. As the engineer, Mr. Gooch, mounted the cab, he glanced at me with apparent disdain. I was new, and I had not worked out of Nashville. We had never met. He checked the steam pressure and water, fiddled with the lubricator, and then mumbled a muffled hello to me, extending a gloved hand without even looking me in the face. I'd been told that this fellow was a longtime NC engineer, something like 35 years. I'd read the requisite locomotive catechisms and texts. My book reading taught me about how the engine and the accessories operated. I understood firing theory, locomotive management, and I'd passed the rules of operating department, fireman, and air brake examinations. I'd served out the required 90-day probation under instruction, mostly on old consolidations and 10-wheelers, and the occasional Mikado. Now I was ready to give my book smarts and training a real test. After we'd coupled onto our train, the conductor climbed up into the cab with the head-end set of train orders. We'd get more orders at Brewston, and depending on changes to meets or times, we'd get reissued orders hooped up on the fly, or from the station agent at a scheduled stop. We read them silently, and then the hoghead quoted them out loud to the satisfaction of the conductor. Finally came the traditional time check, whereby we all compared watches. We were figuring on an 8-hour, 30-minute run to Memphis. Mr. Gooch pulled the whistle cord twice, indicating we were about to move ahead. At the moment he knocked off the air brake and pulled the throttle out, I turned off the blower. This saved steam because the exhaust from the engine would now draw the gases from the fire. I had already turned on the lubricator feeds for the steam chests and cylinders, so oil would be forced to them. We began to roll, tightening the slack, and as we did, I looked with shocked eyes at the steam gauge. Welcome to a fireman's nightmare. The nice head of 250 pounds I'd generated began to dwindle fast as the engine moved down the track, down to 190. No problem, I thought. I'll just crack the blower slightly, creating a more robust fire. This worked for a while, but when we came to Dixon, 2 miles west of Colesburg, and I looked at the water glass, I thought I was in serious trouble. I was down to 1 nut on the glass. While the pressure had increased back to 220 pounds, she needed water fast. No water to cover the top of the firebox was risking a boiler explosion. When the hogger closed the throttle, I cracked the blower and shut off the lubricator. At that instant, the feed water pump kicked in and began delivering water from the tender via the feed water heater to the check valve on the side of the boiler. Time and the experience of other firemen had shown where the pump throttle worked best, and that setting had been clearly scribed as a reference mark. The sound of the water entering the boiler mixed with the sound of the rain that began to pelt the cab roof. We were back up to 2 nuts, but the cold water entering the boiler had dropped steam pressure precipitously. The engineer peered over at me from his side of the cab. We didn't have enough steam to move the train. I scrambled to get the pressure back up. The stoker had done its job. The fire was hot, level, and properly layered with coal, and soon we had the needed pressure to continue, but 5 minutes off the advertised. To keep ahead of the competition, the NC expected crews to adhere to the timetable. With 2 pulls on the whistle cord, the hogger eased out the throttle, and I closed the blower and restarted the lubricators. The fire was really going now. The raging fire was so hot that when we came to the next stop, Johnsonville, 17 miles short of Brewston, where I took water from the standpipe and then cleared the fire and dumped clinkers into the pit near the Tennessee River Bridge, the pressure began to rise out of control. I knew if I didn't do something, the safeties would let go in earnest. This, along with heavy smoke, were the cardinal sins of NC and STL firemen. If the pop valves blow incessantly at a stop, huge amounts of valuable superheated steam are ejected into the atmosphere, steam that took hard work and fuel to produce, fuel that cost the company a lot of money. There was only one thing to do. Since the water level had dwindled down to 1 nut again, I could manually pump, which would bring the pressure down. I started the feed water pump, and while I got the pressure to drop, I also managed to put in a couple of nuts of water. Finally, everything was where it was supposed to be. Pressure, water level, and fire. As we began to move again, I sat in the left-hand seat, mentally exhausted. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I hung my head out the window and noticed the spray of rain as I admired the sun, now poking through the clouds. Rain and sun at the same time. Interesting weather. Somehow I felt Mr. Gooch's glare boring into the back of my head. I had a sinking feeling. I turned and looked at the glass. The water level was so high that I couldn't see the meniscus. "What in the hell were you thinking, boy?" the hoghead shouted. "When we were stopped at Johnsonville, we were on a downhill grade toward the river. Your water looked low because all the water sloshed forward, out of the sight glass. When you manually pump feed water, you put way too much in. Let that pump do its job. It'll keep the water level right, much better than you or I can." That explained the rain. Water from the boiler was being sucked through the throttle valve into the dry pipe and through the superheater before making its way through the cylinders and up the stack. The real rain had stopped for the moment, but I was being sprayed by water from our own engine. As we rolled down the track, I could hear the reverse lever rattling in the engineer's quadrant. As the water went through the valves and cylinders, it washed out the lubricants. The piston valves were dangerously close to scraping metal against metal, and the vibrations were making their way from the valves through the Walschaerts valve motion, through the link, and ultimately to the various appliances in the cab. This confirmed it. Things were not going well for me on this, my first run with the training wheels off, and with a sweetheart of a locomotive. At mid-afternoon, the real rain began to fall. I got drenched to the skin at Brewston when I went to fill the tank with water, take on several tons of coal, and oil around again. I thought that surely this is the way it must have been years ago when my Uncle Leonard did the same thing on the old Nashville and Chattanooga. What would he have done? I wasn't going to let any wet clothes bother me. Besides, I knew that in the heat of the cab, my clothes would dry quickly. We continued on, and soon Engineer Gooch slowed to blow down over the Hatchie River bottom after stopping at Jackson to drop 4 cars of lumber. This meant he was about to expel all the sludge that was left in the boiler after the water had been turned to steam. This sediment, if allowed to build up, could seriously damage the boiler. The engineer opened the blowdown valve. It was located outside, below the cab, but the valve wheel was located in the cab. He shouted, "How much water we got, boy?" I yelled back, "4 nuts." With that, he opened the blowdown for 10 seconds, and a deafening eruption of superheated water flashed instantly to steam, shooting off the side about 50 feet from the engine. "How much water now?" 3.5 nuts. Soon we were down to 2 nuts with the pressure at 250 pounds. The fire looked good. I realized then that with the fire and the water right, steam pressure would level off right at 250, practically on its own. As we continued toward Memphis, things got better and better. It became a rhythm, and keeping the rhythm was as challenging to me as it might have been for a jazz musician. Keeping the engine hot, the water level just right, and the pressure just below pop-off was a challenge that I soon began to understand and actually enjoy. and the engineer began to open up to me, explaining that firing a locomotive like this is simple as long as you maintain the cycle, pressure gauge, water level, and fire. And that small adjustments are better than big ones. Make sure you keep the lubricator working right. It'll save you from a breakdown more often than not. He reminded me that with superheated engines, you want to keep the water level as safely low as possible. And finally, on an engine like this, with all kinds of modern appliances to free the fireboy from exhausting manual labor, he should have ample time to keep a close watch ahead from the left side of the cab, especially around curves. My book learning was quickly becoming practical knowledge. We arrived at Memphis about 5 p.m. The rain was really pouring now, and we had time for a small dinner break before shutting down the 569. I got my Franks and beans from the service kitchen on the Memphis Union Station property and brought them back to the cab. I had the air compressor steam cracked, and the pump still panted every now and then as steam leaked past the valves and pushed down on the pistons. The engine still felt alive. I had a thin spot fire in the firebox, just enough to keep some steam up. 3 nuts in the glass. The cab was warm, and occasionally drops of rain would blow in through the open window, only to sizzle away to nothingness when they struck the hot metal of the back end. The small bare light bulb reflected back from the brass rim of the steam gauge. After dinner, and after the last of the freight was switched out, we backed the J2 into the small Memphis engine house. The feed pump would make sure there was enough water in the boiler for the next time she'd be fired up. No need to use the injectors. I turned off the blower and compressor. The engineer opened up the cylinder cocks so any steam entering the cylinders through the throttle valve would not build up and cause the engine to move on its own. He closed the throttle and put the reverse lever straight up in the quadrant, in the neutral position. Chains were put up under the driving wheels to prevent any movement. The engine was quiet now. She made no sound at all. Slowly, the pressure dropped. 150 pounds, 100, 75, 50, 25. Now she didn't even have enough pressure to move herself. I walked around and opened up the condensate lines. The engineer had walked outside, so it was just the locomotive and me. I climbed into the cab once more. I tapped her steam gauge, now showing 0. The needle rose slightly and then fell back to its pin. Then I gave number 569 a good pat on the back head, climbed down from the cab and signed her over to the engine house foreman. While it may have been a shaky start for me, I felt a real sense of Tennessee pride here at the end of the run. "Hey there, Moore," someone behind me called. It was the engineer, Mr. Gooch. He'd waited around for me to finish shutting her down. I was on my way to a cheap hotel room, a hot bath, and a good night's sleep before my deadhead back to Jackson. As we walked away from the Memphis Union Station, he said, "You know, we just happen to need a good fireboy off the extra board for regular work. Someone who knows how to keep an engine like this hot. You sure as hell earned your pay this trip, and you just might have learned a few things also. You up for it?" You can bet I was, and I ended my career as a Louisville and Nashville hoghead 38 years later. Doss Moore's story was originally published in the spring 2021 issue of Classic Trains magazine and used by permission of Kalmbach Media Company. This special presentation has been brought to you by Nashville Steam, a non-profit organization restoring Nashville's very own steam locomotive, number 576, a sister engine to the one featured in Doss Moore's story. The sights, sounds, and experiences in this great recollection are designed to come alive once again. And through Nashville's efforts, the magic of steam railroading will return to Music City and Middle Tennessee. You can support the restoration of 576 with a donation at NashvilleSteam.org and watch our progress by subscribing on YouTube.
Ah, son of a bitch. Lost my sound. There we go. Now it's back on. You hear me now? I don't know what happened there. That was kind of weird. You guys hear me all right? Hey Sparky, how's it going? Now we can hear him, alright. Hey Sparky, good to see you here. Glad you made it. And Carolina, I saw you here earlier too. Good to see you as well. Yeah, I don't know why I'm having some issues here still that were unforeseen. That's the way it goes though. So, let's see, I got a text there. Anthony Pettit, you still there? Yeah, I'm still here. Anthony. Thanks for asking, though. 5x5, yeah, all right, good deal. So, like I said, there's still some bugs I obviously have to work out. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. Like I say, I've got a highlight on this for some reason. No, dismiss it. Yeah, there was some issues here with... There we go. Okay. That should have fixed that. Still behind though on that, but at least it's not got a weird highlight out right now. Huh. That's weird. Let me do this here. Bear with me for a minute, guys. Pop out the chat again. Huh. Still not catching up though, but I'm sure it will. Okay, well, like I said, I think that Jim keeps getting the ID10T code. That's not the code I'm getting. Although it could be. Alright, looks like we're caught up again now. Okay, that's good. Let me try some here, make sure that still works. Yep, there you go. I think that movie stressed out my machine a little bit. Took too many resources. I may have to overclock the RAM until I can afford to buy more. Maybe I'll jump it up to 64 instead of 32. Hey, I'm working out the bugs. Bear with me, right? Hey, Trackside Mike, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Yeah, I missed out on a lot of the chat. It's alright though, I got it back now, so we're good to go. Anyway, I hope you liked that. I thought it was pretty cool. Thanks Thomas Moore for that one. Like I said, it was a bit long. Thomas, in the future, if you could limit, you know, maybe 10 minutes is plenty. But I wanted to run it anyway. All right, man. Jed, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Have a good weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. So, what else am I doing here? So, yeah, so I started stringing some more wires for the 12 volt. I think I told you that already. And John said, I got a new computer at work. It takes a full day to get everything right. It really does. I mean, there's always things that you don't factor in, you know. I try and run as many tests as I could yesterday to make sure everything was working, but I didn't really push it. I should have, and I would have figured this out. So, like I said, I'll have to overclock the RAM, which is not a big deal. This gaming card allows me to really push the limits, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's see. Track says it was a great video and show. Well, I liked it. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was a different way to look at things, I guess. I had no idea half of what the hell he was talking about, you know, because I'm not that familiar with steam locomotive operations, but it looks pretty complicated, I guess, you know. All the shit you got to pay attention to, or you wind up blowing up the damn thing. You know. I don't know. They must have got good money for that too back in the day, you know. What was considered good money anyway. So I said I thought it was really interesting, and even though it was almost a half an hour, I figured, you know what, I'm going to run it anyway. Especially if you're into the steam engines, that give you an idea of the complexity to run one, and obviously you both need the fireman and the engineer to do it. That's a big ass engine. Well, I guess not compared to a big boy, but it was still big for what it was. Is the hogshead the engineer? No, the hogshead was the fireman. So I don't know why they called him that, but he said that was what they were referred to as, I guess. Hey Floyd, how's it going? Good to see you here. Jim, maybe 50 cents per hour. Yeah, well, that would have been a lot of money back then, Tom, you know. I mean, if you think about it, you know. Well, Sean, didn't you say you were learning about steam engine operations? So you probably were more familiar with this than any of us were, probably. Like I said, I found it very interesting. Hey, Raymond Anthony, 127. I know you popped in, but I forgot to say hi. So, hi. Glad you're here. Yeah, anyway, like I said, I look for stuff like that because I know my channel, we really lack a lot of train talk, sort of. I mean, it will get better down the road. But, you know. So little videos like that really kind of come in handy, and I think keep the interest to maybe keep you guys here. You know. Even though, like I said, we do tend to talk about a lot of different things, but I'll be looking for more videos like this in the future. Maybe not quite as long, but stuff that's of general interest like that. I thought it was pretty cool, you know. Speaking of which, I forgot to show you this, guys, last week. And it was, what the hell is his name now? Quasimodo sent this to me. And I couldn't open it up. Oh yeah, better down the tracks. Good point, Sparky. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Hey, it's not John's birthday, it's my birthday. Not yet, but it will be in a few days. 13th is my birthday. I'll expect gifts and money. So, you know, send it over. Yeah, that's true, Ray. You either just need to add smoke fluid every 15-20 minutes or so. Well, I ran the so I have the trains program. You know, it's trains with a Z, and it's a simulator. And you could choose the steam engine, and it's not quite as complicated as like what the video we just saw, but there's still things you have to do to run it. It's really interesting, and then I had a tough time with it, keeping everything, you know, keeping the speed right and everything else. Yeah, I hear you, Sparky. Thanks, man. And Sean says, "Well, happy birthday." I appreciate that, man. Thanks. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of pull a John SRV, but I'm not gonna do it the whole year though. I'm just gonna have a birth month. So September is my birth month, and I'm just gonna celebrate my birthday for the whole damn month. But then after that, we'll have to wait until another year to go by. I'll be 66 too, man. I ain't getting no damn younger. Not that I was kind of hoping I would, but you know, just doesn't always happen that way. I go, happy birthday, Big John. John, if I sat down and figured out how many times you had a birthday, you'd be like, what, 200 years old right now? Yeah, party at Jim's on Saturday. There you go. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Floyd says I'll only be here for half an hour as I'll be watching dirt car races from those weekend speedway. Oh, cool. Sounds like fun. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. James says my birthday is canceled. Nah, not at all, man. James says this is next month. All right, October. That was my dad's birthday. Was October 6th. I'll have to remember to wish you a happy birthday next month. At least 200. There you go. Sparky says I forget when my birthday is, so I never get older. Boy, if that were only the case, huh? Beer for all. Yeah, I could use one about now, too. Even though I don't really drink anymore, but I've been kind of hankering for a beer lately. I don't know why. I'm going to have to go buy myself maybe a 12-pack and just keep it in the fridge and have one every once in a while. Boy, Ches is on GeForce TV on the computer. Oh, cool. Good to know. For anybody that wants to watch it. So, what the hell was I talking about before I interrupted myself? Damn, I forgot already, damn it. Oh yeah, I did order more of these things too. Ugh. Let me go grab one because I'm not sure what the hell they're called. Ugh. Weirdest thing, I got my left shoe off and my right shoe on. I'm actually walking much better. Remember I told you last week I had one leg is shorter than the other? I might be onto something. I have to get a lift for the right shoe. Anyway, I bought a bunch of these. And this is what I'm going to control my turnouts with. So it's like a slow acting switch. You just swing it back and forth. And I think this is going to work better than switches or buttons. So I'll have to get more of these too. I ordered 5 of them. I'll have to get probably another, probably 10 more. So, did I miss a whole bunch of chat over here? John says I bought some Coors Banquet. I don't know if I'm not a big fan of Coors. I never was. I used to like Michelob, the regular Michelob. I've tried the Michelob Dark. It's not bad either. So I might get that or who knows what, but I'll see what's on sale, you know. As long as it ain't Busch or Bud Light, I'll buy it. Or Milwaukee's Best. I don't drink that shit either. Yeah, it's a servo tester, Gerald. I always forget that. But it's perfect for it, you know? So, like I said, I could put it into the... Well, these are... I'm not sure. I think these are 12 volt. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are 12 volt servos. But I'll probably resistor it down to maybe 6. Or even 3. I might use the, Tom Grassi knows what I'm talking about. The, damn it, I can't remember what they're called. To knock down the voltage. They're not resistors, they're, another thing, which I got a few of those too. Yeah, I'll just use whatever, you know, the minimum, the bare minimum I get away with. And that means that everything will last longer using less voltage. Thompson's. Coors is run by a bunch of leftists. Wasn't that from Colorado originally, I think? I'm not sure. A buckboard, that's what I was thinking of, a buckboard. I use buckboards to knock the voltage down. So, and I may daisy chain these things too to provide voltage for more than one at a time. And this way I won't need as many buckboards. We'll see. John says this is a Heath approved switch motor. Well, it shouldn't blow smoke, so I guess that would make it an approved switch motor. Yeah, watch out for that blue smoke shit. And James says, my birthday is the same day as the Honeymooners star and Star Wars star. Well, the Honeymooners was Jackie Gleason. And who the hell was a Star Wars star? Was it Luke Skywalker? I don't remember. He's an asshole too, but I don't know their birthdays. John says looking for Oktoberfest tomorrow. Isn't it too soon for Oktoberfest? Doesn't that like happen in October? Carolina says sweet trip going through town. Soon fall we get here and I will be able to see it. That's cool. My wife's been up my butt to get us tickets for the sugar train. I'm going to do it at some point. I don't know when. Probably will have to wait till after I pay my property taxes. But I want to ride the train too. Oh, here we go. Gerald says most servos are 5 volt. Yeah, that would make sense because I was plugging the servo tester into the USB port, which is 5 volt. So that's probably what we'll run with. James says Walthers uses the same servo motor. Really? Wasn't aware of that. That's pretty cool. Sparky says the Coors are still in Colorado. You can take tours of the plant. Oh, that's cool. Colorado only for Coors. I remember when you couldn't get Coors. What was it, east of the Rockies? Because the alcohol content was too high or some shit like that. Now you can get it pretty much. I guess they knocked the alcohol content down and you can get it anywhere. Derek said that Coors was the impetus for Smokey and the Bandit. Yeah, I believe it was. James says female stars. I don't remember what the Honeymooner's wife's name was. And the other one, the Star Wars, well, she's dead now, but so her birthday doesn't matter. John says, how about Miller High? No, I cannot stand Miller High Life. I had a friend many years ago. He had a, what was it, a 68 or a 69 Chevy Impala convertible. And he needed help with the engine. They were swapping out engines. And he asked me, he says, can you help me? He says, I'll give you all the beer you want. So without thinking, I said, yeah, that's cool, you know. So I go over there, start working. I said, well, where's one of them beers out? So he pulls out a Miller High Life. And I'd never had it before, so I cracked it open. Like, holy fuck, man. Don't they call this shit grasshopper piss or something like that? I couldn't drink that shit. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go buy some fucking... What the hell was this regular Budweiser right there because it was cheap at the time. I just bought some Budweiser and drank that, you know. I can't drink that fucking Miller High Life shit, man. Only beer I would drink is I tried Foster's once. It's not bad, but I mean the fucking cans are like, they're huge. Anybody tried? Yeah, I tried that many years ago. It'll kick you in your ass, man. It really will. It's some potent stuff. And Joe goes, yuck. James says, I only drink double lot beer. Is that near beer? The fake stuff? I tried that before too. It doesn't taste that good. Oh, it did save my life one night though. We both were actually. My friend, because he was a reformed alcoholic, and we were both drinking near beer that night at the bar. We're coming back on I-75 from Fort Myers to Naples, and some lunatic driving down our side of the road the other way, coming the wrong way. Well, Kevin was right beside another car. There was only 2 lanes at the time, on each side. And I'm like, dude, he's gonna run into us, And fortunately, like I said, we were both sober, which was really handy. So the guy that was beside us, he slams on his brakes and slides over behind us. Or no, he stayed in his lane, but he slammed on his brakes. And I told Kevin, I said, move over, man, right now. So he did. And we narrowly missed getting hit head on at about 80 miles an hour. Fucking nuts. And the guy just kept going. Had no fucking clue. Was probably drunk himself. Who knows? Floyd said years ago they used to sell that here, Andy. Andy says you obviously did, Gerald. Yeah, well, I preferred any beer really is good on tap. I mean, but Mick is definitely better on tap. But even Budweiser, I even drank Schlitz for a while, man. Remember Schlitz? and one you guys probably never heard of. Well, Tom Grassi, you probably heard of it because you're old enough. My grandfather used to drink Ballantine beer. And when I used to go, so I only got to see him, every couple of months because he was a deep sea fisherman by trade. But every time I go to visit him, he said, come on over here, boy, and have a beer with me. I was like fucking 7 years old, He'd crack open the Ballantine, give me half the can, and he'd drink the other half, and we drank, And that was some damn good beer, man. I don't think they make it anymore. I'm not sure. Like I said, I know Tom Grassi remembers it because it was real popular in Jersey and New York. Charles said east of the Mississippi, cords was only shipped in cord. Yeah, that's true, they were. Oh, there you go. Tom Grassi's jumped on me. Jim Audrey Meadows was Alice Cramden. Okay. I didn't remember that for some reason. I used to watch that show when I was a kid. I thought it was kind of cool. Andy said 8.1%. Oh, the alcohol in Coors, yeah. Johnson, those oil cans are a commitment, Michael 40. That's true. Sparky says Coors still owns their own rail cars. They are the white reefers, but the corners are painted blue or pink or yellow. I did not know that. James says, choice is yours, I like it. There you go. Everybody has their own taste, that's cool. Sparky says, also share them with some wine company in Colorado. I didn't know that either. Or is it whiskey? Can't remember. Now, I've had Jim Beam, I used to drink that straight. Not often, but I did. Back in the day. All right, John, we'll have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. And we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Be safe. And good night, man. and a happy birthday. John Nippenberg says, my dad drank Schlitz. It wasn't bad. It was better than Colt 45, There were a lot of different beers. I mean, we had a pub in Naples. They said, we're going back 30 years because I haven't really drank since then. But they had like every beer from the planet, or on the planet. They had it there. So I used to try different beers whenever I went, Some of the German beers were good, lagers and stuff like that. But I think the worst one, and I guess and you English guys, you're probably used to it, but English beer and they serve it warm, that's weird, man. I really couldn't get into that too much. Tom says Jim Ballantyne beer is rolling. Okay, I didn't know that. I said that was good beer back in the day. That was the only beer that I actually really liked. And I was just a kid, you know. Because I was never really that much of a beer drinker anyway. I was more of a rum and coke guy, you know. No. I can't stand Scotch as paint remover. Yeah, it's a little potent, man. I even tried White Lightning once. The chiropractor I was seeing for my back issues, once again, like 30 years ago. When I was in there getting cracked, and he goes, You ever have moonshine? I go, no, why? He says, I got some White Lightning in the back. You want to try it? Yeah, sure, why not? Holy shit, man. You could run your car on that crap. It might as well have been gasoline. Man, you feel that shit going all the way down your throat, you know? And I just took like a little sip of it, man. I was like, fuck this. I can't drink that shit. I won't be able to drive home. John says, don't drink so much Coors and you will remember wine or whiskey, Sparky. Sparky. Yeah. Pabst, I've tried Pabst too. Not a big fan of it. James says, I don't drink. Oh, you're probably better off for not doing it. I don't anymore because, you know, they said it's really not good for me. And once in a while, I mean, the last time I had a beer, well, my neighbor, we traded some work, and he says, you know, he built me a chicken or a bird cage for the quails that we had that we don't have anymore. And he said, I'll do it for a case of beer. So he said, you know, he said, I'll drink anything. So I can't remember what the hell I bought. And it was actually pretty good beer. But it was on sale. It was like $18 for, you know, a 24 pack. And I'm going, oh, fuck, I'll buy that, you know. And, no, I think it was more than that. It was like $24 for a 20. It worked out to about $1 a can. I can't remember what it's called now. It wasn't bad. And that's the first time I had, and I drank it. That's the first beer I had probably in 20 years. Because like I said, I really don't drink anymore, you know. Hey, Tammy and Ray, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. John says, I'll take yours, Lloyd. I have Johnny Walker. I love Johnny Walker. How about Johnny Walker, Tim? Lloyd says, you can have it all, John. Derek says, I'm a Southern Comfort guy. There you go. I've had that too, man. There isn't too much I haven't tried at one point or another, alcohol-wise, but most of it I didn't like. The first time I got drunk on vodka and bourbon. I took 11 shots of vodka and I don't know how much I drank out of the glass of bourbon. I got fucked up bad, man. I thought I was going to die. Now, what was I, 13? Yeah, I was 13 years old. I went over to my friend's house and I got in a lot of trouble over that. But for years, I couldn't go near either one. If I even smelled vodka, I'd start puking, you know. Then all of a sudden one day I was able to drink it again. So I've had, you know, screwdrivers and such, which isn't bad. But I really do prefer rum and Coke, so. Gerald says, Ardbeg 10-year Scotch. Yum. I've never had that before. Probably is, though. And Sean says, Glenn Livets is good Scotch. There you go. Like you said, I wasn't really big on either one of those. I've had a few. I don't remember the brands. Everclear was the stuff we used to drink when stupid teenagers. We thought we were smart drinking something that disappeared off your tongue. That's a potent shit, man. I mean, I guess you could go blind drinking that shit because, you know, back in the Prohibition, back in the 20s, that's what they were making, you know. Was it wood alcohol? And people went insane. They went blind. It was fucked up, man. Floyd says, time for me to go now, guys. Have a great night all. All right, well, have a good one, Floyd. Thanks for popping in. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a fun and safe weekend. And we'll see you later. Derek said, Sparky, after a couple of those, you could feel it wash over your brain. Yeah, well, what used to be your brain anyway. A lot of dead brain cells after drinking that shit. James says, third rail is live at 8. Okay, well, who knows, we might be done by then, but if not, you go over there. Derek said Johnny Walker Black, nice smoky taste. I've had that before. John said my first drunk was Jägermeister and I was 27. Well, at least you weren't a kid. Hey, it's rough on a kid, man, when you get drunk your first time. You know, like, you know, I really did. I thought I was going to die. Puking, felt like shit. Man, it was bad. I also lost my virginity that day, too. My friend had a sister. And she was probably 2 or 3 years older than me. And I just remember taking her in the closet and, you know. So it was a good day in a way, you know, except for the old getting, you know, sick part afterwards. Sean said, Hot Dog Pile and Andy, we gave scotch tasting nights at the trailer park. Scotches range from $80 a bottle to $400 a bottle. Holy shit. That's some expensive shit. Sean said, John, mine was tequila. I did tequila once, never again. They don't say it's to kill you for nothing. My first wife and I were at a friend's house, and they broke open a bottle of tequila, and between the four of us, we killed that bottle in just a couple of hours. Well, I got up because I wasn't feeling too well. I said, I'm going to go lay down in your spare bedroom. Is that all right? Yeah, go ahead. So I didn't make it to the bed. I mean, I literally passed out about 6 foot in front of the bed. Didn't wake up till the next morning with the worst fucking hangover. Never touched tequila again after that. That was bad. Sean said 7 minutes in heaven. Yeah, right. And he said, TMI. Well, losing my virginity? Fuck, we've all done it. John says, I love margaritas too, on the rocks with salt. I never had a margarita. Matter of fact, I've never drank a Bloody Mary or margarita, or there's a couple other what would be considered ladies' drinks that I never drank either. Like I said, my drink of choice back in the day was rum and coke, you know. I painted this guy's house. And this is about 35 years ago. And it turns out, he showed me pictures. This was before they really doctored it, so I believe it was real. He showed me a picture of him and that guy down in Panama. The one that we arrested. I can't remember his fucking name now. But he's claimed he was a personal artist to this fucking dictator. But things got too crazy down there, so he came back to the States. But he had his own aircraft. He had a Cessna. He says, you know, once or twice a year I go back there and buy shit and bring it back. He says, what do you like to drink? I said, well, I like rum, you know. So he brought me back some fucking Panamanian rum. A case of it. It was like $1 American for a bottle, you know. You know, best stuff you ever drank. Smooth as shit. And he only did it once, and I kind of lost track of him, but I'm trying to think of the guy's name. We had him in prison here for a while. I can't remember who it was. But, you know, I still got the photograph somewhere, believe it or not. Ray says, Bloody Marys are good when made right. Yeah, like I said, I never had one, so I'll take your word for it. And Andy says, I do like JD Tennessee Fire. There you go. John says, Panama Jack. No, it wasn't Panama Jack. It was some off-brand. I don't remember that. It was 35 years ago. But man, this shit was good. And it was potent. Yeah, Noriega. That's who it was. I couldn't remember who the hell it was. Yeah, we had, because that was before we arrested Noriega. He was still in power in Panama. And this guy supposedly was his personal artist. And he claimed that he built a bronze statue of Noriega for him, on commission. And then things got a little weird down there. He says, well, it was time to get out of Panama. So, I ran into a lot of strange, but I know another guy, a Jewish guy. He was living in Panama for a while. This was, I think it was after Noriega was taken out of power. He claimed, or no, it was before, because Noriega supposedly stole his money. He said he had over $1 million in a bank in Panama, and Noriega locked it up. He couldn't get his money. So we actually, swear to God, well, he died unfortunately, but he was an older guy, He says, look, I got a plane. He says, if you want to go in with me, I'll split the money with you. I said, well, how are we going to get it? He said, well, we're going to have to rob the bank. I said, you fucking kidding me? He says, it's not like America, man. They don't really protect anything. We might have to shoot some people, we'll be armed. But he says, there's no jurisdiction with America with them. I said, well, I actually seriously thought, I said, well, shit, easy money, even though I can wind up getting killed. But then he fucking up and died before we got a chance to do it. She said Sean's going to make himself a rum and coke. There you go, Sean. Good man. All right, well, listen, have a good one, man, and thanks for popping in. And there was something you were asking about, and oh, yeah, the street sweeper. Are you still looking for a street sweeper? I found one. I'm pretty sure I can print it, or if you know somebody that can print it for you, I'll give you the file. But let me know if you're still interested in it. It's pretty good. I'll send me an email. I'll send you a picture of it. All right, what else we got going on here? So yeah, those were the days, though, man. Like I said, it was crazy times. That Don't know. Hey, John, you got the #1 crown, man. They got a point system and a levels on Rumble. And me and a couple other guys, I know you guys know Why Are You Naked For? Rob. He gets on there. We watch Tom Kovichak's train channel all the time. Well, anyway, we started using these points. You can actually, we found cheat codes. And I was I think I'm still at #1 with 500 quadrillion points. You heard me right, 500 quadrillion. Level 100 because you can't go in more than 100. And I think Rob is right behind me, and Tom, I think, is right behind me. I mean, they're not really, they're not right behind me. They're like, I think, what was it? Tom said he had something like, he was in the trillions, but I'm in the quadrillions. And so was Rob, Why Are You Naked For? He's in the trillions as well. Some funny shit, like I said, we found the cheat codes for it, and you can give yourself massive points. Yeah, no kidding, 500 quadrillion. It's too bad they don't give any prizes for that, because I would definitely get something, right? I think Tom is going to reset the thing soon anyway. Because I may be locked into where we can go. Oh yeah, Gerald, you know about it. Yeah, because Gerald hit 100. Everybody got 100 as far as the levels. So that's the highest level you can go. But then it was getting points after that. And Gerald, I think you're still pretty low on points too. Of course, you have to be there to get points. Because when you make it rain, it gives everybody points. So Rob was typing in like exclamation point rain space, and then typing in like 30, 49s, you know. Hits enter, everybody, and he splits it up depending upon how many people are in the chat. So if there's 3 in the chat, it splits it 3 ways. And that's actually how I wound up with 500 quadrillion. So, yeah, pretty weird. Kind of cool though. It's much better than the stupid crowns they got here on YouTube, you know. But it is what it is. So, so let's see what else we got going here. Still, why is it still on there? Oh, because I didn't do that. There you go. So that's what I've been doing. I'm gearing up to try and get all this stuff done in here. Some of it anyway. Gerald said devs can give others points as well. I guess. I don't know. Like I said, the only one I'm really familiar with is the exclamation point rain and the exclamation point rank to find out where you're at. Yeah, well, that's one of them right there. But there was also gambling too, and I think that's what screwed over Rob, because he was gambling and losing more than he was winning. So it's like playing roulette. If you hit the number, you get a shitload of points. But if you don't hit the number, you lose a bunch of points. Because I was going to do that, and I thought, well, I don't like losing points. I don't like gambling anyway. So, but then I thought you could do the exclamation point points, because it was. I they might have taken it off because it was there to begin with, and that was specifically for giving yourself points. So I tried it and it didn't work. So I think they probably shit canned that one. I don't know. Well, it's still fun though, you know. And of course, Streambot, which is supposedly overseeing all this shit, he's locked up because we're all at 100 points or 100 levels. You can't go no higher. And that's why, like Tom was thinking, well, maybe they'll reset everybody so we can still communicate with Streambot, because you can't talk to Streambot now. That's some weird shit, you know. But what does Crown 225 XP mean? I have no fucking clue. How does it? I don't fully understand the rules with the Crown. You know, I know the more you chat, the more likely you are to get the #1 crown, but I don't know. Charles says, exclamation point commands equals rules. Okay. I did not know that. I'll have to check that out next time we're on. And Andy said 225 extra pissed. Maybe. You know, anything YouTube does is going to be a fucking clusterfuck anyway. So, yeah, they'll screw up a wet dream if you let them. So, you know. Gerald says bigger than Crown 200. It might be. I don't know. Like I said, I don't fully understand the whole Crown. James says they have high points for videos now. Okay. I said it's, you know, not near as much fun as Rumble is. 555 rand. There you go. Well, you know, the only reason I'm still on YouTube is because I know a lot of you guys won't cross over. And I don't want to alienate you, plus I enjoy talking to everybody. So for the moment, I'm just going to stick with YouTube, you know. But if things get real bad, yeah, I'll transfer over to Rumble. What the hell? Hey, GRE 2057. Hi, oops, how you doing? Good to see you here. The new computer's doing fairly well. Mostly working. There's some bugs I still got to work out that I found out tonight. I think I stressed the RAM with a movie I was showing. So I'm going to overclock that probably tomorrow and test it again, or probably eventually I'll get more RAM. I got 32 gig of RAM now, but I'm thinking of jumping to 64. But we'll see, you know. RAM is still kind of expensive though, so like I said, I'll try overclocking it first. If that does the trick, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I know you won't, James. Like I said, a lot of guys won't. I mean, unfortunately, you'll probably have to at some point, way down the road, because YouTube is falling apart, you know. But for the moment, it still works, so we're going to stick with it, you know. And that's not to hit. Rumble's still having issues anyway. They haven't worked out all their problems yet either. So, for right now, I'll just stay on YouTube. My first hype was on Heath's Live. I'm going to see what happens when I hype this live. Okay. That works. Gerald says YouTube won't tell us the rules. Probably because they don't know what the fuck they are either. You know. Jerry said I only came for the rants. I don't have a good rant this week. Maybe next week. James says I don't make money on YouTube. Rumble is different money. Well, yeah, I don't make money on YouTube either. Now, I do my Wise Guys on Rumble. It's a different type of video. I'm monetized, but I don't have enough followers to make any real money. You know, I made like 6 cents in last year. But if you got followers, you could make better money. But I'm not doing it for the money, so it doesn't matter. Now, that's the thing, Derek. It really doesn't. It can if you got the followers, which are the equivalent of subs. You know, I've got. Let's see. Last time I looked, I had 107 followers on the Wise Guy, which still isn't enough to make any real money. You know, even though I generally put out 3, 4, 5 videos a week. You know, and they're 1 hour videos, so they're usually pretty well documented. But it's hard to pick up new followers, you know. It's a political channel that I run. Not everybody's into that. Yeah. So it is what it is, but like I said, I'm not monetized here on YouTube yet either. Even though, you know, with 500 subs, when I get to that point, I'm at, I think the last time I looked, I got 492 subs on YouTube. I had 498 and then I lost a few for some reason. If I ever get 500, then I can go ahead and, I'm pretty sure I got enough watch hours and stuff for that, but I'm not going to make any real money. I mean, and I'm not doing it for the money anyway. And he says, finance is not my MO. Well, it's not mine either, really. I mean, it'd be cool to do it just because. But, I mean, I don't think I'd ever rely on it. You know, don't quit your day job because you ain't going to make enough money on YouTube or anything else for that matter to to quit working. You just, I mean, some do. I watched this, what the hell's her name? Oh, shit. Forgot the girl's name, but she does like a satire video. They last about 10-15 minutes. And she has really funny stuff. And they're short clips of stuff, you know. and she's got something like 100,000 subs or 200,000. She makes enough money to. She doesn't work. She's down in Australia. She makes enough money to pay her rent. She has a brand new car. She has horses, cats, and dogs. I mean, she's doing pretty well for herself, you know. So it's possible to make money. I guess if you got something really interesting, but you know, whatever I'm doing isn't that interesting apparently. Let's see. Rumble lets you say whatever you want. It's probably an FBI channel. No, it's their free speech channel, and that's the only reason I like them. Because you don't have, and they don't give you any shit over, you know, copyrights or anything. Like I can watch if I want to. I mean, there are a lot of other guys that actually play movies, older black and white movies, that you'd never be able to show on YouTube, you know, because of copyright protection. And they're monetized, so I mean, you know, but Rumble doesn't seem to give a shit about that, and they shouldn't, because you're not. It's not like you're really making any real money on it, you know. Sherry says monetization on YouTube requires 1,000 subs. No, you can do it on 500 too, and it's less watch hours too. But like I said, you're not going to make any real money. I mean, you know, I suppose if you had 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, yeah, you might actually make some real money. I don't know. Some people seem to, but I'm not doing this for the money, you know. You need to show some TNA to that. That's true. And you can do that on Rumble, but you can't do that on YouTube. James says, GRE, I am 400 hours short. Now, there you go. Gerald says, you need to have lots of TNA to make money. Not necessarily true, but you need to have some. I mean, enough to keep everybody, you know, focused. Derek says, yeah, Big Jim, we don't want to see you clean and transparent clothes. No, I don't want to see that either. GRE says only 30 subs behind you, Jim. Like I said, it sucks. I've been stuck at that. I was doing pretty good there. I thought for sure I was going to, you know, hit 500. Then all of a sudden one day I went to knock down to 492 again. It's like, well, what the fuck? You know? But, of course, a lot of the problem is I don't put enough content. They say shorts really help you. I was doing shorts for a while. And I kind of stopped doing it because I don't know what else, you know, what to show. And that's just the way it goes. Tom says, Jim, to make money on a social media platform, you need to find a good niche. Model trains is not that niche and make a lot of money. That's true. Like I said, there's some things that, you know, you can talk about or show or whatever that can make you good money, you know. Trains is just not that popular, unfortunately. So to keep everybody cross-eyed. And Derek, yeah, that's probably true, Derek, is when you start on the second level again, it probably will, because like I said, I'll have more content to throw up on there. I haven't done much lately. I mean, I have, but I haven't, nothing I videotaped, you know. So, we'll see. I just put out, did I do a short? No, I just did a short video. But it wasn't a short. On the computer, at least. Kind of just showing what I was going to do, but it didn't actually show any of the work yet, you know. I mean, I think something like that's kind of boring anyway. Who the hell wants to see me put a motherboard in a computer, you know? I mean, come on, that's really not something that anybody really wants to see, probably. So, Jim, YouTube Shorts, you need 1 million views to make money when you only get 100 or 200 or more. That will not. No, that's true. Yeah, I need to do probably regular videos, not necessarily shorts. Because I'm nowhere. I think I need something like 950 or 990,000 more to go to qualify for 1 million views. Yeah. You need a hot model to show off your big boy in the subs. That's probably true. How sex sells, it always has. You know. Not easy to find somebody with, a big set of tits to, parade around my train room. My wife might not like that too much anyway. I think Ron on classic model trains does okay making. Yeah, but that's another good thing too, which I don't do that either, but I probably should. And Derek says, Big Jim, you would be surprised. Doing a motherboard is evergreen content that just keeps getting viewed. Really? I didn't think it really would, but like I said, I already did it. I didn't videotape because I just didn't assume that there'd be any real interest in it, So, like I said, I'll figure it out eventually. I'm not that worried about it, Like I said, I would never rely on either platform to make any real money. And even if it did, that's still risky. There's no guarantee that you'll be able to do it month after month. Jerry says, John, I actually watched some of Ron's trains repair. I've seen some of his videos too. They're very good. Like I said, I probably should do some of that myself, but. And Tom says, Jim, I saw a video today. It was announced that today was Show Your Man a Titty Pic. Well, you didn't see that on YouTube, that's for damn sure. They'd shut that down in a heartbeat. Rumble lets you do that, though. I enjoy Ron's repair videos, and he has a good... Yeah, he does. He does a good job. Like I said, if I was in it for the money, I would definitely find something that would catch everybody's interest. And I'd probably do it on Rumble. Because it probably wouldn't fly on YouTube. But like I said, I'm not in it for the money, so, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, The main reason I wanted to get monetized on YouTube is so that it's easier if somebody wants to, donate money to my channel. Because you have the donation things on the bottom of the page where I don't have that now. So it'd be difficult. It would be sort of difficult for most people to want to, give me money if they had the wherewithal to do it. Said, yes, Jim, yes, I did say it. They might have, I don't know, but they're not supposed to. I mean, although YouTube's weird, they'll let some things go and other things, You'll get a strike for showing a copyrighted movie, but you can get away with showing naked tits on. I don't get it. Not that I have a problem with either one. I just don't get it. Hey, DWM Trains Dave. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you. Says, I'm in a financial class for retirees, and it's boring. One of the things not to get caught up and wasting on a hobby. Not surprised. Oh, he's got the link for it. I gotta see that. Yeah, where is it? Come on, damn it. Everybody's going to be checking out that link, you know that, right? She did not show anything. Well, that ain't no good. right, GRE. Thanks a lot, man. We'll see you later. Have a fun and safe weekend, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. Even if she did show it, she got it on the show anyway. Come on, that one was about as flat chested as you can get. There ain't nothing there to begin with. Russ says only a handful of model railroaders make decent money on YouTube. I've done research. Model railroading just doesn't generate the money. Well, that's why I said I don't think it's that popular. So that's why it says it's tough to do, and that's why I'm not worried about it. No, I got the link. It went in over, but it's just some flat-chested bleach blonde. Well, yeah, she dyes her hair. Obviously, she's not true blonde. Talking in the passenger seat or driver's seat of the car, it's hard to tell because they reverse a lot of the videos. Flatsy Patsy, yeah, there you go. Ain't nothing to see there. Raymond says, I'm here for one thing only. It's trains. Yeah, there you go. You know, we get into everything now, right? So. And he said, not even tempted, Thomas. I said, ain't nothing there, man. I wouldn't waste my time with that either. Do a model build on video. Even a blue box build from start to finish will get views and build. Yeah, it's true. It does, because, you know, that's what Tom Kovichak does on his show. He's building mostly the wood kits. And I watch them. A lot of other guys watch them too. You know. There's two kits I'm interested in buying. One's a stockyard for cattle, and the other one is a grain bin. So if I can get my hands on both of those, I'll build those on air too. Because, you know, they're wood kits. They're tough to build. There's a little bit more involved with putting them together, making them look right. So John says, I've seen that girl and her friends a few times. Really? Ladies, today is National Send Your Man a Titty Pic Day. Okay, do not be selfish. Lots of short, that's why she's repeating herself, I guess. Derek says, trains and rants. There you go. Russ says, off-gridders, van lifers, and shock and awe. Prankers, do-it-yourselfers make them. That's true, that really does. That's why I said if I was really in it for the money, I would do something different. Just for the money, but, you know, what I do here, I do for fun, and hopefully it helps some other guys, and, you know, somebody learn something new. I don't know. If you rotate through the shorts, the most random stuff comes up. Why doesn't YouTube rotate through the subs you follow? Good question, John. I have no idea. Carpenter's dream, flat as a board and easily screwed. Now, I've heard the flat as a board, but not the easily screwed part. That's interesting. And funny. How could you be an off-gridder with a well, I know it's weird, isn't it? But there was one guy that I used to watch. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he bought a place out in Michigan or somewhere. He's got like a bunch of land. And he built his own house, which is like the equivalent of a tiny home. And you don't even know if any of that shit's even real. But, you know, he supposedly lives there with his wife. He never shows his wife. I don't know if he actually really has one or not, but I mean, and he has these problems every week that he, you know, is able to solve. But I don't know. It's not really that interesting to me. That's why I quit watching it. Well, I suppose if you have a phone, you could still do that and an internet connection. So if you're an off-gridder, you presume. Well, I think this guy had a generator and solar panels to generate some electricity for the house. Because I mean, realistically, you need electric. Off-grid basically means that you're not relying on your city or county's power station. You're generating your own juice. Yeah, Russ says I bring that up. I bring that question up all the time, Andy. Internet is part of the grid. Well, yeah, it kind of is, that's what I'm saying. And if you really want to be off the grid, you wouldn't be on the internet because, the internet's like the spy that'll get you every time, I mean, if I were truly going to be off grid, I wouldn't have a computer or internet shit, But I ain't gonna do that. Yeah, that one was kind of boring. Tom, you have to come up with something better than that. Like I said, the latest rules I heard is that one. There's another one that I watched, Farm Girl, where sometimes she's called Banshee Moon. She just celebrated her birthday this month. She's 60 years old. She looks like she's about 30. She kept getting demonetized because she's usually in a bikini. She doesn't show you anything, But she's in a bikini, and they said that she kind of said, well, they demonetized my last video because they said that I'm suggesting sexual behavior. She's not, but that's the way YouTube runs. I mean, it's pretty fucked up, and it doesn't. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. Let's see. Tom says, John, that's because YouTube only pushes videos out if they have tags in your settings and add hashtags in the description of the video. Otherwise, they do not know who to distribute. Oh, that makes sense. Andy says, not the grid, but I'm well off the reservation. We've always suspected that anyway. As well as most of us are anyway. John says, I'm going to try that, Derek. I usually see a short on the opening page from someone I follow, then I swipe up and it gets... Yeah, well, it does. It doesn't always follow the person that you originally jumped into. Because I've done that too. Rotated them up to the next one and... Alright, who the hell is this, I gotta say a hard no on that one, Tom. No offense, but you're lacking a few vital components. Yeah. And if you did attract anybody, it wouldn't be anybody you want to attract, so. And I don't think there's enough of them to give you any kind of real monetization anyway. Hey, Russ says, more than likely. No. That's not going to happen, man. I'm telling you. Well, hey, I could be wrong. Who knows, I don't know. Ring it head doesn't count, Tom. That's a good one. Derek said, Thomas, probably if you were tied up and in a bikini, but then you wouldn't like your audience. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I just don't see that going over very well. Now, if you could convince Barbara to do that, she would make money. You have to pretty much be female to be able to pull that off, I'm pretty sure. I just started watching another girl. She's probably in her mid-20s. Well, no, maybe she might be in her 30s. I'm not sure. She doesn't look too young, but her name's Lily. And she's like a total racist. It's interesting to watch, even though I think she's wrong on a few accounts, but another thing she's completely right on. But she's interesting to watch, you know. It still wouldn't work, Tom. Trust me. You ain't got the body for it, man. John making a good point. You would attract the wrong people. I wouldn't want to go there. Ray says, wear the top halves as earmuffs. There you go. I think we're just going to have to settle for the fact that we're just not going to make any real money. I played the damn lottery. I bought one ticket. I said, I'm not going to spend a shitload of money because I figured my odds weren't that good anyway, and they weren't. So I picked the 6 numbers and the Powerball number. Not a fucking number was in the winning number selection. Not one. So I only wasted $2, but you know. But I might keep trying. Maybe once a month or so I might buy a ticket or two, and a couple dollars, I don't care. And I didn't need $1 billion anyway, I guess there were two winners on that to split 1.8 billion. You're probably right, Russ. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, they're very inconsistent too with their rules. I mean, you could be making a video, and if there's background music that isn't even yours, like say you're videotaping an event at like a car show or train show or something, somebody's playing, you could get busted for copyright infringement if you don't section out that music. That's just fucking stupid, I don't know why they're behaving so petty over that, because nobody gives a shit, Plus, if you're not monetized, it's like, I got a strike last year because I showed a video on my live stream that was copyrighted. I didn't know, And I wrote them back, I didn't make any money off of this. Well, you still can't play it because it's still copyrighted material. Yeah, so what? Didn't Congress about 30 or 40 years ago rule that you could view anything as long as you're not making money off of it? Yeah. We don't know nothing about that. Yeah, I'm sure you don't, John says the crown is up to 300 XP now. XP maybe stands for extra points. I have no idea. Keep it up though. At least you're racking them up, right? Russ says, I think you only need 8 more subs now, Jim. Yeah, well that's right, because I'm at 492. 8 more will give me 500, and I could, I could monetize. I like I said, I won't make any money. But I'll have the little things down at the bottom where if somebody wants to, gift me something, they can. Because it would be difficult for anybody to do that now. And that was really the only reason I wanted to get monetized. And I know damn good and well, I ain't going to make no money. Yeah. Maybe one of you will feel sorry for me and say, here's $20, I mean, probably not, but you know. So, it is what it is. As I said, I just got to the point where I just don't give a shit, you know. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, so what? I'm actually more concerned about getting another strike, you know. Well, yeah, there is, Russ. They said Congress about, it was back in the late 70s or early 80s. Because it was over, because people were copying VHS tapes. You know, back when VHS was really the only medium. So the whole thing wound up in the courts, and the court finally said, look, as long as you're not viewing it to make money, you can do a public viewing, but you can't charge for it. And you can't pirate copies to sell them or even give them away. But for your own viewing pleasure, or for bringing over your friends, they want to view it, and you're not charging them for it, you're allowed to do that. I guess that falls under fair use. And that went for the music and for all video as well. Now maybe something changed since then, and I haven't heard about it. But like I said, if you're not making money off it, what the fuck difference does it make? You know. Now, I have a collection of music that's pretty extensive. You know, stuff that I've copied. You know, from radio or TV or internet or wherever. Because a lot of music I got off the internet anyway. If you look around for it, you could find it, you know. Sometimes they're music videos, and I can strip the video part out of it and just have the audio, and I'll put the audio on an SD card, play it in the car. But I'm not making money off it, so what the fuck? And the bottom line is, if it's because of the greed of the artist, well, you're wasting your fucking time, because I'm not going to buy your fucking music. You know. I'll do without it. I don't care, you know. You know, you said, and you know, they don't, when we were kids, remember they had the 45 RPM records? You had a single on each side. Then they kind of went over to albums, and now you got to buy the whole fucking album. And the bottom line is, most of the groups out there, even the good ones like Rolling Stones, half the music on the album sucked. You really didn't want to listen to it. You bought the album for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 songs that were on the album, and the rest of them you didn't listen to. But you had to buy the whole album. Well, that was a rip-off too. Now, that was another thing. I'm not going to buy an album for 1 or 2 songs. You know. It's ridiculous. John says, I had a train running under the Christmas tree video got copyrighted because the Mercer AT and SF song was playing softly on my TV. Yeah, they'll get you for that. I think I'd only get gifted the clap. I don't know about that, man. I'll leave that up to you. Derek said you should get monetized because YouTube puts commercials on your channel and they make money, so you should get something to take it away. Well, I know, but that's not the way it works, because they're basically making money off your back, you know. And I'm not a fan of advertisements. I hate commercials and advertisements. Derek says, Big Jim, very true. You could be doing a live stream at a railroad show, and if the vendor has music playing in his booth, you can get a strike even though it's not you playing. I know, it's ridiculous. You know. Well, there is. I mean, you know, I didn't get a strike, but on my, you know, the opening song I got, Crazy Train, for live stream, I've got a warning from YouTube because they're saying that we can't show your videos in some venues, which I don't know what that means, because of the Crazy Train video. Even though it's an instrumental, and it shouldn't even count. So eventually I'm going to have to find another, opening song. But I'd like to find something that's train related, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to pay for it either because, I'm cheap. I'm not making money, so why do I want to spend money? I don't know who can't see my live streams, but apparently there's places it doesn't get shown because of the opening music. Russ says, remember the old bootleg movies people took when they were in the oh yeah, and they still do it. Intermission, you could see people in their seats and eating. I know, some of them are not there. We call them cams. I can still get cams for some of the new movies. I usually wait until they get a better release. But like the new Superman movie, it came up on my site, but it was a cam, and I said, well, I'm not going to watch it because the problem with cams is either the picture sucks or the audio sucks. You can never get them both good, One or the other is always not so great. I can't stand watching a bad picture or lousy sound. So I would wait until they came up with usually a web rip, and that would be good enough to watch. And Andy says the same applies to the vendor public broadcast. I know, it's ridiculous. And Derek says, I always wondered about your Crazy Train opening, but I didn't want to bring it up. And, well, no, you're not going to cause a problem. I just noticed it about a month or two ago. Because it's in my YouTube main page. And as I said, it's not a strike, but it's a warning saying that we can't show this everywhere because of that music. And I'm thinking, the fuck difference does it make? I ain't making no money off of it, And John says the bootleg new movies, there was an offshore source that had new releases. Yeah, I remember that too. Because I was getting some pretty good, well, they weren't cams, they were, when a theater gets a new movie, they get like a preview movie. And it usually has a counter up in the corner, one corner or the other. But other than that, it's a perfectly good movie. And that's how you knew it was, a theater draft. And then if the theater liked it, they would send it back and get the real copy, which didn't have the counter on it. Well, we're not seeing too much anymore because I think they got busted for that shit, But once again, it all comes down. It really does come down to money. I haven't been in a movie theater in probably 30 years. In fact, I think the last time I was in a theater, let's see, I took my new wife, Debbie. I took her to a movie when we first met, and that would have been like 27 years ago. I don't remember what movie we watched, but it was relatively inexpensive at the time. It was like fucking $3 a person. You always snuck in your own food because their food was too expensive. Now they fucking search you. You can't bring in outside food. And the tickets are outrageous. What are they, like $12 now or something like that? Fuck that. Well, yeah, like I said, I had backroom privileges at a video rental place. It wasn't like Blockbuster, it was a private one. And after they got to know you, they'd give you backroom privileges, which I got. And that's for everything from single X to triple X, all the good movies were at. So I made copies of most of the movies I rented, And like I said, VHS was not the best thing that they had at the time. I mean, none of it was any good, but I had recorded something like 200 or 300 soft porn and hardcore porn movies. I always liked porn with, stories in them, instead of just what you see nowadays. So, But yeah, when those stores went away, so did the back rooms. You know, kind of sucked. John says, I think someone was posting those. Yeah, they probably were. There's always somebody that ruins it, you know. John says, I smuggled Subway into an AMC once. Yeah, they throw you out for that shit now, you know. What the fuck? Chuck says, Jim, what railroad or location is your outro from? I have no idea. I was basically going through railroad, you know. I typed in the search railroads, you know. And I saw that one. That was actually, I had to shorten it. That was like a 2-hour ride on the railroad. I don't remember where it was. It looks like it was probably out west somewhere, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And like I said, I shortened it tremendously, but I thought it was appropriate for what I wanted to do. Even on the intro, I've got something similar, but a different railroad, because in the little square on the intro, you can see the train running, you know. Oops, the signal man. I had a pork pie hat concealing a real pork pie. There you go. Oh yeah, John, I forgot about the signal. You know, come think of it, that one was down here in Florida somewhere, I believe. It wasn't the Sugar Line, but it was somewhere here in Florida, I'm pretty sure. And the signal man was just kind of a bonus, you know. Says, I have not went to a movie in decades. I used to smuggle food all the time. Well, we did too, because like I said, the shit they had was too expensive, you know. I mean, prior to that one that I took Debbie to, I don't think I was in a theater prior to that. I think the last one we went and seen was with my first wife. We went to see the first Star Wars movie. I think that was the last time I went in the theater prior to being with Debbie. And we had to go back a second time for that one because we went on opening night and the lines were literally about a quarter mile long. By the time we got to the window, they were already sold out. They said, we just have to come back tomorrow. So we came back tomorrow earlier, and we actually got tickets to go in there, and it was a full house, you know. But that was a big movie at the time, Star Wars, so, you know. And we used to go to the drive-ins prior to that. They had 3 or 4 drive-ins in Naples and Fort Myers. And the Twin in Naples, which was out in East Naples, they had the midnight X-rated stuff, you know, so we'd go watch those. And they had the Rocking Horse in Fort Myers. I think that was, yeah, was it? No, that wasn't the Rocking Horse was an indoor. There was another one I was outside, I don't remember the name of it. And they had older movies that never made it to TV, and you could go watch a movie there, and that was like $4 a carload, you know, people, so you brought all your friends with you. I missed the drive-ins. We had a drive-in even in Naples Park about a mile from where, you know, I lived. And he was showing R-rated movies. And then apparently a bunch of old farts got together and said, we can see the movies over the trees. You can't show that. So after that, he was restricted to showing all G and PG rated movies. He wound up shutting the place down after about a year. And it stayed there for a long time. And nobody used it, and they finally tore it down and built some other buildings in there. Ray says 90% of what they charge at the concession stand goes in the pocket. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Well, it's ridiculous when you pay, you know, $10 for a fucking small Coke and $12 for a box of popcorn that, you know, probably cost them 25 cents to make. I mean, they're just gotten ridiculous. Cold but tasty pastry. There you go. Well, yeah, we used to do that too. Not during the midnight showings, but like the regular showings in the evenings. My friend had a '53 Chevy. You could fit like 6 people in the trunk comfortably. We never got caught except for the last time we did it. And because instead of parking where there was a lot of other cars parked, he parked like we were like the only car in that space. And as soon as they opened the trunk up, we were all busted. So we had a choice: either get thrown out of the movies forever, or wait till after the movie and clean up the whole fucking drive-in. We elected to clean up the drive-in. That was kind of fun. But yeah, it sucked. Russ says, I would rather spend the money on Model 3. Well, me too, man. Hey, since the movies suck anyway, you know. Most of them. And I watch it on TV, you know. I watched all 4 John Wicks. We just recently saw the last one, John Wick 4. You know, I mean, I got a 40-inch screen in the main room. And that's big enough to enjoy a movie on, you know. Like I said, if they had really good movies, I'd go and invest in a 60 or 70-inch TV. But it's not worth having. I mean, they're just not. Most of the movies they just suck, you know. Hey, back when I was a young man, we had good movies and good TV shows. Today, not so much. Matter of fact, most of the TV I watch is anime. You know, I watch like 10 or 12 different anime shows. And a few live action stuff, but, you know, I got like Star Trek, the latest one they got, what is that? Worlds Beyond, or whatever the fuck it's called. Strange New Worlds. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, that's pretty good. I'm still waiting for a few shows to get back on. Like that one, Silo. That's supposed to be coming back on soon. That was a good show. But I mean, they're far and few between, you know. There's just not enough shows out there to really want to invest crazy money in a TV, you know. Like back in the day, I bought a Sony Trinitron, a 30-incher, which that was a $1,300 TV, which was crazy expensive at the time. But there was so much good stuff to watch that was worthwhile, you know, and it had a beautiful picture. Today, you know. You said most of the stuff on TV is shit. Well, that's true, Raymond. If the popcorn and drinks weren't overpriced, it wouldn't be smuggling it. I know. And they still don't get it. They still, well, like you said, now they can search it. If a woman comes in with a big purse, they demand to look inside the purse to make sure you're not smuggling in food. And he says, yeah, no westerns with locos anymore. And I haven't had too many good westerns either. I mean, some of those westerns were pretty good, you know, back in the day. I really enjoyed more of the older movies and TV shows than anything they're producing today because, you know, and not only that, but everything today's got some fucking queer in there. Transgendered, lesbian, or fucking gay. I don't want to see that shit. You know, and there's no reason to put them in the shows. I remember seeing Jaws at a drive-in when I was about 10. Where the hell I think we saw Jaws at the drive-in. They said I didn't go into the sit-down theaters, you know, the indoor theaters, but we still went to the drive-ins until they were all gone. There says Goobers, Milk Duds, Whoppers, popcorn with extra butter, fun times. I mean, the food was good till it got too expensive, you know. I mean, you take you and your girlfriend or you and your wife out, you were looking at, you know, $40, man, or more. That's too fucking expensive. Russ says, I stood in line for The Empire Strikes Back when it first came out. Now, we saw that on, did we see that in the theater? No, I rented that. That was on VHS. And that's what I started doing after, like I said, I didn't want to go to the theaters anymore. So we would just rent the DVD and watch it at home on TV. Overpriced snacks and drinks only in the USA. It's not like that. I'm sure it isn't. Pack them in the trunk. Hey, JD, how's it going? Good to see you here. Like I said, we got away with a lot, you know. But if Johnny would have parked in a pack of cars, we would have got away with it. And usually wanted to be off to the side a little bit because, you know, the concession stand, they really couldn't see that well. But where he parked, I mean, it's like, boom. Somebody got out of the truck, oh, fuck, we're busted. And, I mean, within minutes, here comes the manager of the place. You boys, let me talk to you here, you know. I thought for sure we were going to get arrested and thrown out of the fucking thing. Hollywood is brain dead when it comes. You know, well, they just can't come up with nothing new. And yeah, they try and remake the classics, and they, in most cases, they screw that up too. Yeah, The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. That was a good movie. Mother Jugs and Speed. I saw that on VHS the first time. That was a funny movie. Andy says, how do you think my doggy got the name Blondie? Blazing Saddles. I just watched Blazing Saddles again because it was on my movies channel, you know, as I downloaded it. And I kept the copy anyway because it might be worth something someday. Because it's the only movie you can see where they actually use the N-word a lot. And it's funny, you know. I watched, that was about 2 or 3 months ago I watched. Yeah, I laughed my ass off. I'd seen it before, but it was fun to watch it again. Oops. Yeah, Blazing Saddles is a classic without a doubt. You know. The Dirty Harry movies, yeah, those were all good. Well, what's his face? Fuck, I can't remember his name now, but it'll come to me in a minute. He's a good actor. I don't care what anybody says, you know. And every movie he's ever made, I've probably seen. And they're all good, you know. There says, I give that as a quiz to people. What did he call Clint Eastwood as he rode away? I guess you would know the answer. Well, I don't. He said, I can remember basics in the movie, but I don't remember word for word any of that stuff. And he said, for a few dollars more, is it far to Tucumcari? I don't know how to pronounce that. And he said, S-O-B. I saw Death Race at the drive-in, the first one. And yeah, that was, people were kind of pumped up too, man. That was a great movie though, because that had Kung Fu guy in there. What the hell's his name? I can't remember his name either. Yeah, because they did 3 more movies after that. I think the second one had him in it, but the third and the fourth didn't. But the first one was still the best one. Angel Eyes, there you go. Lee Van Cleef, he was good too, yeah. So, I mean, they were good actors back in the day, you know, where you just don't, yeah, Carrot on, I can't remember his first name either. But, yeah, he wound up killing, he strangled himself, he was in a autoerotica sex or some shit like that. He was a weird guy, but I mean, I liked him in Kung Fu too. I mean, that was a good series. One of these days I'm going to download that again and watch it. Bullet and Vanishing Point. Yeah, those were good. David Carradine, that's what it was. I couldn't remember. I'm terrible with names anyway. But, yeah, they said they had better actors, better storylines. They were original. Today they can't come up with nothing new. It's always a twist on something they've already done, you know, or an absolute remake. How many fucking times can you remake Snow White? I mean, really, what the fuck? You know? Yeah, those were good too. Midway and Tor. I've seen every one of those movies, you know. I used to watch movies from the 30s even, you know, with that one fucking guy. What the hell is his name? He was good. He always played the gangster. Can't remember who the hell it was now, but they were just better movies all the way around, you know. The shit they're turning out today, like I said, it is. It's just plain garbage, you know. And they always got to have a fucking queer in there. Why? Yeah. I mean, at some point, somebody must have made an agreement with Disney and everybody else. You can make the movie, we'll finance it for you, but you got to put a gay in there. Why? So, I don't know. I don't know if things will get better or not. Too much CGI. Well, that too, yeah. I mean, the CGI is kind of cool in a way, but they've completely gotten away from real sets, you know. And there's a lot to be said for an actual, you know, movie set. And they're just not doing it anymore. Like I said, well, everything they do nowadays is so out of touch with reality, you know. Like I said, you know, you're watching your favorite TV show, the star dies, and they find a way to bring him back. You know, it's like, well, that don't happen in real life, not as a rule, you know. I mean, what is it with these fucking... I don't know, it's just weird, you know. Huh. Why is it? I'll get caught up again. I like sci-fi. I've always been a big sci-fi fan. But even that's getting not even realistic. James Cagney. Yeah, he was good. That wasn't what I was thinking of, though. It's the other guy. The fuck was his name, man? I'm terrible with names. They had a lot of good actors back in the day. He's the one who did the... shit, what was that one? My fucking memory's drawing a blank now, but... He did a lot of gangster movies, you know. It'll come to me like in a day or two. And one of you guys will probably come up with it long before then, but... Edward G. Yeah, he was good too, but it's not who I'm thinking of. And the other guy, what the fuck was he? Did yeah, Humphrey Bogart. That's who it was. I couldn't think of his fucking name. What was the movie he was famous for? Son of a bitch, I can't remember that either. Yeah, and I've seen all them movies back in the day, but you know. Yeah, they were all good ones. Like I said, they were, you know, they knew how to make movies back then. And, well, you know, the Humphrey Bogart movies, you know, they didn't have special effects back then. So when he was getting shot at, you know, like when it was near a building and you could see the bullet holes at the building, those were real bullets. They had sharpshooters that would shoot near the actor. If the actor make a wrong move, he'd get shot. Thank God they never did. But, yeah, Casablanca, that's the one. I couldn't remember that. But I mean, they used real bullets, man. They didn't fuck around, you know, and because they didn't have CGI or, you know, special effects or any of that shit. Godfather was good, yeah. Maltese Falcon. Andy says big fan of Casablanca. Yeah, I do. Can't remember shit. And I'm telling you, well, because I don't think about a lot of this stuff anymore. If you'd asked me these questions 5 years ago, I'd have been able to answer them clear as day, but now not so much. So, all right, Andy. Well, listen, thanks a lot for hanging out with us, man. Have a good and safe weekend, and we'll see you next time. Go get some sleep. I saw that on TV. I didn't see it in the theater. Actually, I think I rented that movie, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Then they had a sequel to that. The sequel wasn't quite as good, but it was still funny. Out of all the bars in this city, she had to walk into mine. Yeah, that was one of the lines of Casablanca. I remember that, believe it or not. Well, since I saw it, I wouldn't have remembered it otherwise. The bank robbery scene from Heat was off the charts. But, oh, I'm sure. Like I said, it's just the movies were much better quality. They had better special effects. You know, now you said they don't even need special effects now or even stand-in actors. It's all CGI shit, you know. Yeah, I hear a lot of people complaining about that too. So it's not just a few of us that are bitching. It seems to be the sentiment of the majority that we want to see good movies. And you know, and the worst part is these movies are crazy money to make them. You know, $500 million to produce a movie, and it's all CGI. Somebody's getting paid too damn much money. That's what I think. You know, but that's what I'm saying. For the money they're getting, you know. Even the actors are getting ridiculous money, you know. And I get tired of watching like cop movies and shit, you know. Everything's, you know, something to do with law enforcement or hospitals or some stupid thing. I mean, it's kind of boring to me, you know. Come up with something new, for Christ's sake. How hard can it be? You know. I'm sure if I put my mind to it, I can come up with an idea for a movie that nobody had ever seen before, you know. That would be any good or not, but it'd be different. Present Hollywood has soured me toward TV and movies anymore. Well, that's true. They said they're turning out garbage. Tom says, Jim, problem with TV and movies, the talent they suck. Well, they do. It's not real talent. They're just a bunch of fucking, you know, whiners and crybabies that are bitching about not making enough money. They think they're worth 10 times what they're getting paid, even though they're not. They said, I'd fire them all and start over again, you know. Yeah, most of the actors and actors, yeah, that's true. I mean, they really are. They're, you know, they're not very good. They're not memorable, you know. There's a few that are, but I think the vast majority of them really aren't. I think they're getting paid way too much money for nothing. But you know, this is what we got to deal with now, and well, ain't much you can do about it. Oh. Don't know. Oh, anyway, let's see what time. It's almost 9. I think we should probably wrap this up, man. I'm running out of shit to talk about anyway. Did my, I've been doing a backup while this was going on. And it's still not done. It's only 48% complete. But I'm backing up 862 gig of info. No, we'll catch that. I'll just let the computer run all night. Hell with it. Normally I shut it off when I knock off for the night, but we'll let it run tonight and let this finish. Anyway, guys, I think I said I'm going to run this up. Derek said, and then the Octagon's still exciting no matter how many you've seen. I've never watched that. I was big into wrestling a long time ago, you know, but even that got kind of, it got too fake. I mean, it was always fake anyway, I think, but it got to a point where it was just, they weren't even trying to make it look real. So I quit watching it. It is what it is. Alright, well listen, I'm going to wrap this up. And we'll see you guys again next week. Should have some stuff to show you on the layout. I'm sure we'll have some exciting videos to watch. And we'll just keep doing what we're doing because, hey, it seems to work, right? So anyway, everybody have a good night. Have a safe and fun weekend. And don't forget to flip off the signal guy because he's seriously overpaid. And that guy is milking it no matter how you look at it. Alright, here's the outro. We'll see you again next week.